Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. Thanks for joining us on Full Circle. I hope you had a good weekend. It's been another busy day here at CNN. We got a lot to get to, and as always, we want to hear from you. Weigh in with your thoughts in the comments. When you've heard enough of what everyone else has to say, you can just swipe to the right to quiet them. Tonight, this photo has become symbolic of the tragedy of that tour boat in Missouri. Of this family of 11, 9 of those people did not make it off the lake. I'll speak to one of the survivors tonight for the Full Circle interview. And later, this. We asked and you voted for the 5 stories you want to know more about, including this one. The eruption on Hawaii's Big Island has destroyed hundreds of homes. It's caused dozens of injuries, and a new report says it could last for months or even years. Plus the 180, your chance to ask me some questions. Ever have strange run-ins with the animal kingdom? We'll explain the story later, but for now, ask me anything you want about beasts of the wild. I'll do my best to answer as many questions as I can later on in the show. And my question for you, should security clearances be revoked for former national security officials? I'm going to get to the story behind the question in a minute, but for now, if you already know how you feel about it, get your vote in early. If you're watching live on your phone or tablet, you should see your choices on the bottom half of the screen. You can swipe down to clear it, and while you're at it, tag a friend you think might have strong feelings about this one. I want to know what they think as well. We'll get you final results of what everyone thinks before the end of the show. We'll start with the first thing first, one of the top trending stories on Facebook right this second, and it is a politician fighting ISIS the only way he knows how.
Show me the buttock. No, trousers down. Okay, go.
America!
Good. One more time, but louder with America.
America!
Good.
Yeah, that's Georgia State Representative Jason Spencer, and yes, he's the latest to be pranked by Sacha Baron Cohen for his show Who is America? Cohen, posing as a counterterrorism expert named Colonel Aaron Morad, also persuaded Representative Spencer to do this.
In America, there is one forbidden word. It is the N-word. Now, I am going to be the terrorist. You have 3 seconds to attract attention. Go!
When the lawmaker is not doing that or dropping his pants so we can all sleep better, he is sponsoring real-life legislation that would effectively ban people wearing burqas. Spencer is, for now, rebuffing demands he step down. He has not returned calls from CNN, but told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution the Showtime series took advantage of his fears that he or his family would be attacked over the burqa bill, which totally explains the butt bumping and the N-word over and over again. Now, for the one thing you need to know, the most important story of the day, the one thing we don't want you to miss. By now, shouldn't be surprising that the Trump White House is full of surprises, and today was one of those days. At today's White House briefing, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders announced that President Trump is thinking about stripping security clearances from half a dozen former national security officials, all of whom, not incidentally, worked in the Obama administration, including former CIA Director John Brennan.
Not only is the president looking to take away Brennan's security clearance, he's also looking into the clearances of Comey, Clapper, Hayden, Rice, and McCabe. The president is exploring the mechanisms to remove security clearance because they've politicized and in some cases monetized their public service and security clearances.
Well, even for an administration that shatters precedent on what seems to be a daily basis, that's quite a mouthful. Here's who Sanders is referencing along with Brennan: former FBI Director James Comey, former National Security Agency Director Michael Hayden, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, and former Deputy FBI Director Andrew McCabe. Retired Lieutenant General Clapper, who's also a CNN national security analyst, wasn't shy in his response by phone earlier today.
I think it's, off the top of my head, it's kind of a sad commentary where, for political reasons, this is a kind of a petty way of retribution, I suppose, for speaking out against the president. And if he chooses to do it for political reasons, well, that's I think that's a terrible precedent, and it's a very sad commentary. And it's an abuse of the system.
And in a tweet, a spokeswoman for Andrew McCabe said Andrew McCabe's security clearance was deactivated when he was terminated, according to what we were told was FBI policy. You would think the White House would check with the FBI before trying to throw shiny objects to the press corps. A precedent-shattering day at the White House once again. And that's the story behind today's question for you. Should the security clearance of former national security officials be revoked? If you're watching live on a phone or a tablet, go ahead and vote, and I'll get you the results at the end of the program. Switching gears now to the Full Circle interview, just a horrific, tragic story of survival and loss. The duck boat that sank during a storm in Missouri Thursday, killing 17 people, was raised out of Table Rock Lake today from 80 feet beneath the surface. The boat will be inspected as part of an investigation into exactly what happened and how. It had 31 people on board, as you know, when it sank. None of the 17 victims who died were found wearing life jackets. This family photo was taken just before the boat launched that night. Tia Coleman and 10 members of her family were aboard the duck boat. Only Tia and her nephew made it to safety. The rest of her family, Angela, Aria, Belinda, Irvin, Evan, Glenn, Horace, Maxwell, and Reese Coleman, they didn't make it. Tia Coleman joins me now. Tia, thank you so much for being with us. I'm so sorry for all your losses. I cannot imagine what you are going through. What do you want people to know about your loved ones, about your family?
I first want you to know that I'm doing this interview tonight because of my husband. He was a fan of your show. We had CNN on constantly in the house. So this is in honor of him. And then in the honor of the rest of my family, I just want everybody to know that they really were great people. All of them. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my uncle, my sister-in-law, my nephew, my husband, which I'm sure everything he learned from his dad and his mom. He was a protector of our family.
How did you two meet?
We met at the Vogue. It's a club in Indianapolis.
Was he voguing or were you voguing?
No, neither one actually.
Okay.
It was just a happenstance. I don't know how it even happened, but we met, and I don't know. It was just something different, something completely different. And he was my better half.
And tell us about your kids.
My children, they were our world. My oldest son, Reese, was 9 years old. He's on the such a wonderful child. He was on the autism spectrum, but he never missed a beat. He was so he was so lively. He just always brought smiles to people's face. Oh, and he used to love to come and kiss me and say, "Hi, Mommy." And then my Evan, he was so brilliant. He was just the smartest little kid you'd ever want to meet. He had a heart of gold, and he was a great brother, a great big brother and a great little brother. He took care of his brother and his sister. And then my baby Aria was my girl. She was my first girl, and she was a little princess. That was rough, a rough little princess.
A rough princess?
So, a rough princess, yes. It just made our little wonky circle complete. I loved how we could just be ourselves.
I heard you say that, your house was always full of kisses, was always full of the patter of little feet.
Yeah. I have a very close-knit family. On both sides, my in-laws and my direct family. And we always celebrated birthdays together, Christmas. I celebrated almost every holiday. And they really love to be around their family, so there was always happiness in my home. And it was something that was key to me when starting a family. I wanted to be able to have in-laws where we got along, where we all, where it wasn't, any separation. They were still my family. I wouldn't say those are my in-laws. I'd say this is my family. And I feel like I was just truly blessed to have that, to have, two families. Some people don't have one, and I had two families.
If it's not too hard, and if you don't want to, I certainly understand. Can you just try to walk us through what happened? I mean, I know the boat started to take on water. I know that they had said that there was a storm coming. They had mentioned life jackets, but they didn't tell people to put life jackets on in advance. When the water started coming in the boat, what happened?
When we first got out to the water, we were so excited because it was hot. It was really hot, and they told us a storm was coming. They told us to make sure we get out to the water first, and it was fine at first, and then it started getting rocky, and started, but water was splashing inside the boat. But as we had been told, the boat can take on up to 18-foot waves. It was 18 to 20 feet, I believe. And so it wasn't really scary. We were also told that there are life jackets, and they're above you, but you don't need to know where they are because you won't need to use them. So we didn't. We were told to stay seated in our seats, and we from what I can see, the boat, people on the boat did what they were supposed to do. And
do you remember getting tossed into the water?
I remember, I've said this, but I want to make sure I reiterate this, and this is the reason we were sitting the way we were. It was 2 to 3 of us to a seat per the instructions. So I was in the very front seat, and my oldest son, who I explained earlier, is on the autism spectrum. Was very excitable. So I wanted to make sure I could keep a hold of him when, if he saw anything or if he got splashed with water. And my baby was asleep, and my husband was holding her, and then my middle son was right next to him. So as the first big wave came in, it looked like, from what I could tell, it looked like the water just came into the boat, but then it washed out the back. But when the last big wave came in, I lost hold of my baby, and I didn't know the boat had capsized. I thought it just went under, and I jumped up and immediately started floating, and I hit my head on. I got pretty banged up. I was so disoriented, and I couldn't see anything, so I just started pushing with my hands, trying to find a way out, and I felt somebody push my leg, and I couldn't find any of my family, and I swam, and it seemed like the more I swam, the further in the water I got. And it was so cold. It was so cold. And I remember just praying, saying, Lord, let me get to my babies. Let me get to my babies. And I couldn't get to them. And then I just let go. I said, if I can't get to them, just let me go. Just let me go. If I can't get to my family, let me go. And I let go, and then I felt myself floating, and I felt the water warm up, so I knew I was getting closer to the surface. And then when I came to, there were people that had, they were throwing out life vests off of a big riverboat. We were next to a big riverboat. They were throwing off life vests, and then people started jumping in the water. And I just remember them dragging me out because I was trying to just stay. I was trying to stay afloat, but the water was so heavy, and it kept pushing me back down. So, when they got me situated, I didn't see any of my people.
And that's
and
when
then
you
my
knew.
nephew came running out. So that was.
I heard someone ask you when you were at the hospital if you if you're glad that you survived, and you said you weren't sure at that time. I know you have a strong faith. How are you holding on?
Well, somebody told me that when they found my husband, he had all 3 of my babies. So the reason I couldn't find him is because he was protecting them. So I didn't know that at first because a lot of details were kept because they didn't have all the details in yet. That right there will keep me fighting for my family forever. The memory of all of my family, not just my children and my husband, but for my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my uncle, my nephew, my sister-in-law, and my surviving nephew. I'll always fight for them. To know that he did exactly what he always told me when we first met. I will always take care of you and our children.
Well, Tia,
I'm sorry, Anderson.
no, nothing to be sorry about. I wish I could just hug you right now. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I know there's people all around the world who are thinking about you and praying for you and praying for your nephew. And,
Yes.
And I hope that gives you some strength in the difficult days and weeks and months ahead.
Yes, it definitely does, and it has. And I had heard that some of the survivors were feeling guilty because they couldn't help as much as they thought that they, should. And if I could say something, I just would want to tell them they shouldn't feel guilty at all about that. We all went through something extremely traumatic. They should never feel guilty for surviving.
Tia Coleman, thank you for talking to us, and again, my thoughts and my prayers are with you and your nephew and all those who survived. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you want to help Tia and her family, there's a GoFundMe that's been set up. You can find it on cnn.com/impact or at gofundme.com/Branson Duckboat Survivor with a dash between each word like you see it there on your screen. We're also posting the link as a comment on this video. It's going to do it for a full circle tonight. We think we should end it there. Want to leave you thinking about Tia's words of love for her family. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.